Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, UFC Saudi Arabia, Robert Whittaker versus Ikran Aliskerov takes place tomorrow morning, and I love that. I will be live streaming the event in its entirety, but regardless, I did want to put out an official picks video, so that's what we will be doing today. We are going to start with the very first fight of the night, work our way up as usual. Let us get started right away, dude. The first fight of the night, which is Zhao Long versus Chang Hao Li. Okay, I'm going to be going with Chang Hao Li because he seems to... So, first of all, he's taken a lot less damage throughout his career, which, obviously, he's had a lot less fights. But he also seems to be a lot more damaging when he fights. You see on his record a lot of TKO finishes via ground and pound, whereas Zhao Long recently has been able to skate by with, like, majority decisions, split decisions, and things like that against relatively similar competition on road to the UFC. So I do think that Chang Hao Li is going to be able to get it done. I think that he gets it done via TKO with ground and pound. Moving up the card to Magomed GADHIYASULOV versus Brentson RIBEIRO. Okay, I'm going to be going with Brentson RIBEIRO here. The reason being is experience and level of competition. Also the fact that RIBEIRO, whatever, is pretty competent everywhere. Okay, he's also going to have a significant reach advantage. Now, Magomed, on the other hand, has fought absolute and total nobodies up until his last two fights, and both of those were decisions. So we're starting to see his finish rate drop off as he competes against better competition, whereas Brentson RIBEIRO has been fighting relatively good competition for a good while now, okay? RIBEIRO is either finishing you, dude, or he's getting finished, okay? And Magomed, usually against opponents that are like 0-3, will take them down, mount them, and finish them from there. And Brentson RIBEIRO, I feel as though, has good enough grappling to not allow that to happen. Even if he gets put in a bad position, I think he's going to be threatening with submissions. I think he's going to be trying to get back to his feet and things like that, and not just allow it to happen. So that's why I'll be going with Brentson RIBEIRO here over Magomed GADHIYASULOV. I think that RIBEIRO could potentially get a TKO here, but who knows. Moving up the card to Kyung Hao Kang versus Muin Gafurov. Okay, I'm going to be going with Kyung Hao Kang here. Okay, Muin Gafurov just isn't that good. He kind of fights like a complete and total mongoloid, if I'm being honest. He puts himself in very bad situations, is finishable. Kang is a hard dude to finish despite having a lot of losses on his record, okay? But I trust him more to like stick to a game plan, keep himself safe, whereas I do not trust Muin Gafurov to do the same at all. Both of them have recently lost a decision to John Castaneda, but in between then, Muin Gafurov went out and got finished by Said Nurmagomedov as well, because he basically just stuck his head in a guillotine, which is one of Said Nurmagomedov's best submissions. Do you know what I mean? So it's just clear that his fight IQ is not all there. He kind of fights like an absolute marauder. Kyung Hao Kang's going to have a size advantage, even a little bit, and reach advantage to boot. So I do think that Kyung Hao Kang gets this one done. Okay, moving up the card to Rinat FAKHREDINOV versus Nicholas Dalby. I did not mean to click twice there, but regardless, dude, I'm going to be going with Nicholas Dalby. Okay, he's a massive underdog here. He stopped one hype train, and I could see him doing it again. And in my opinion, dude, Rinat FAKHREDINOV's gas tank kind of got exposed against Elias Zaleski dos Santos. If you can kind of tough it out for that first round, where he is absolutely dangerous, I'm not going to deny that, but in the second round and onward, you can start to implement your game plan. And Elias Zaleski dos Santos made that fight unbelievably close. Like, I thought that fight could have either been a draw or potentially gone the other way. It was a very close fight after that first round, okay? Nicholas Dalby has never been finished in his entire career. He's had a lot of fights, not a single finish on his record, or not him being finished on his record, right? So I don't think that Rinat FAKHREDINOV is just going to be able to go in there and completely and totally steamroll him in the first round, which I believe is Rinat's best option to win this fight, okay? And as I said, dude, Nicholas Dalby against Gabriel Bonfim, basically did just that. He toughed out the beginning of the fight and then went on to beat the shit out of him, okay? And he was a massive underdog for that fight as well. So there's no way that after watching Rinat FAKHREDINOV gas out after the first round against an older and smaller Elias Zaleski dos Santos, I don't think that he's going to be able to go in there and steamroll Nicholas Dalby, especially not at like minus 400 or whatever it is that they have him at. They have it relatively close to that. I believe it's minus 375 or something, but either way, dude, I'm picking the big underdog Nicholas Dalby to get it done late TKO or decision, all right? Now, moving up the card to Muhammad Naimov versus Felipe Lima. This is a replacement fight. He was supposed to be fighting Melsik Bagdasaryan. I'm going to be going with Muhammad Naimov. Muhammad's going to have, I think he'll have a pretty significant, like, size and strength advantage. You can see the height and stuff like that there, but also Felipe Lima has fought at bantamweight. Do you know what I mean? He's a smaller dude for featherweight, and probably because this was on short notice or whatever, he's taken this fight. But either way, I'm going to say this, though. I'm not overly confident in my pick, okay? Lima has fought, in my opinion, much better competition, and he's never been finished on the feet, okay? He hasn't lost since submission, since his very first fight in MMA, period, right? And NAIMOV hasn't gotten a submission in multiple years, okay? And it was over a guy that was 5-6. So, not some crazy grappling credentials we've got going on there. But I just think that NAIMOV's going to be able to make it ugly, kind of bully him around size, strength, things like that. He might take some shots, he might get hurt in moments, but I think that he's going to be able to tough it out and eventually get the job done. But I could see a world where Felipe Lima is able to counter him with some shit, or at the very least, like, kind of pick him apart and stay safe from Muhammad Naimov's psychotic way of fighting. Okay, we're going to move up the card to Nasrat Haqparast versus Jared Gordon. Now, I'm picking Nasrat Haqparast, pardon me. He's a relatively large favorite, but either way. Bro was technically very sound in my opinion, very good fundamentals. He does not get finished a whole lot. In fact, the last time he got finished, it was in 2020, and it was Drew Dober. That dude hits like a truck, okay? So it's, you know, Drew Dober is either finishing you or he's getting finished for the most part, so I'm not going to hold that one against him all that much. Now, he doesn't lose to bums either, right? You go look down the list of the guys he's lost to. They're not like the cream of the crop, but they're also not the bottom of the barrel. We're talking like Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, as I said, Drew Dober, guys like this, dude. Tough guys that usually have crazy fights. Also, he's on a win streak with a very nice finish over Jamie Malarkey, which was nice to see from him because we haven't really seen a big knockout like that in a bit, even though most of his wins are by knockout, just not in the UFC. Jared Gordon, while he looked good against Marco Madsen, I don't see Nasrat Haqparast gassing the same way that Marco Madsen did, which is kind of how Jared Gordon was able to get that one done. Marco Madsen went absolutely all out in the first little bit there, and then Jared Gordon was able to tough it out and get the job done. It was a nice knockout, but Marco Madsen, real old, okay, also kind of has a very limited skill set, and as I said, gassed out. So I don't see Nasrat Haqparast doing that. I think he's going to come in here with a really good game plan. I think he's going to stick to that game plan. And I don't know that he's going to finish Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon's a tough dude to finish. I would bank on Jared Gordon's chin more than I would over Jamie Malarkey's, okay? But I do think Nasrat Haqparast will probably pull off a decision victory. Now let us move up the card to Johnny Walker versus Volkan Ozdemir, okay? I'm going Volkan Ozdemir. Now, these odds are crazy, so I'm not super confident in this. If Volkan Ozdemir was a little bit more of an underdog, I would pick him all day, every day. I had to go back and forth with myself a little bit, but here's my problem, dude. Johnny Walker has kind of showed us on multiple occasions that he can't really handle adversity all that much. You could see there was a point in the fight against Magomed Ankalaev, the second one, where he threw everything he had at Magomed in that first round. And then Magomed hit him with a good shot. I think it was at the beginning of the second round, or maybe it was towards the end of the first. And Johnny Walker's whole face, his whole demeanor, body language, everything changed almost instantly. And from then on, he was kind of fighting scared. Okay, and it's like if his flashy and, you know, crazy stuff that he likes to throw doesn't work, and he's like forced to resort to fundamentals, it seems like it's kind of over for him in fights. There's one exception to this, which was him against Anthony Smith, but we don't see it very often, right? And Ozdemir, while he's going to be a little bit shorter and, you know, whatever, have a smaller reach, the dude's big, he's dense, he hits hard, he can make fights dirty, he's very good at fighting in close. Now he's going to have to get past the range of Johnny Walker, but I do think he can do that. We also saw him sub Bogdan Guskov, that's aged pretty well considering Bogdan Guskov then went out there and subbed Ryan Spann. The dude's very durable. He showed that in the Ryan Spann fight. Showed that he's not just going to get submitted by anybody. Do you know what I mean? And also hits hard and whatever. So I do think that Volkan Ozdemir is going to be able to kind of tough this one out. I think he will have to eat some shots, but I don't think he gets put out cold by any means. I think he makes it ugly. I think he gets inside. I think he tries to work the clinch, lands some big shots, maybe even goes for a takedown, since he kind of added a new wrinkle to his game against Bogdan Guskov that we weren't really used to seeing from Volkan Ozdemir. And as I said, man, Johnny Walker, once his crazy shit stops working or just doesn't work and he's forced to resort back to his fundamentals, you can kind of see it change on his face, and he's like, shit, now I have to actually fight normally. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know that I trust him all that much, especially after that last performance. Even though Magomed Ankalaev obviously is a very good opponent, but it was kind of obvious and apparent that that's what happened there. Like, he does not like adversity whatsoever, okay? And Magomed isn't the only person that we've seen kind of put him through that. So I'm going Volkan Ozdemir. I believe he's a slight underdog, but not by much. Either way, dude, moving up the card to Shara Magomedov versus Antonio Trocoli. Pardon me. This is also another short notice replacement fight. I would have picked Shara Magomedov against his last opponent, bro, but fuck it, okay? Minus 675. Get out of here with all of that, okay? I'm going with Antonio Trocoli, all right? Now, Shara Magomedov in his last fight against Bruno Silva showed us he has zero takedown defense whatsoever and almost zero ability to get back to the feet either. He would rather try and kick you from his back than get back to his feet. Okay, and Bruno Silva, dude, keep in mind, Bruno Silva's not some, like, super high-level grappler. He's lost by submission a bunch of times. Most of his wins come by way of knockout. He just knew that he didn't want to be on the feet with Shara Magomedov because of the kickboxing credentials, okay? But Shara Magomedov spent the vast majority of his career, or at the very least, the vast majority of his highlights, fighting guys a lot smaller than he is. Okay, that's just a fact. You can go look at every single opponent on his record. All of his most impressive finishes come against dudes that are a lot smaller. One of his more recent opponents before he got to the UFC last weighed in at 135 pounds. Okay, this is a middleweight, right? Shara Magomedov fighting guys that now fight at bantamweight. So I feel as though he's got a ton of hype that I don't know is all that deserved. Yes, he has a good highlight reel and all that stuff, but he's not been fighting good competition. His debut against Bruno Silva was, in my opinion, lackluster, okay, and exposed a few holes in his game. Now, when I was bringing up the smaller opponent things, that's to say Antonio Trocoli, pardon me, is a lot bigger, okay? The opponent who was supposed to fight Shara was a lot smaller than him, as usual. Believe he even had fights at lightweight, okay? Antonio Trocoli, there's no way he's making lightweight ever in his life, ever, okay? The dude is 6'5" with an 82-inch reach, okay? He's not been finished since 2017, and it wasn't even like it was a retirement, like he quit on the stool or something. It wasn't like a true TKO or knockout. Now, he's got a ton of subs on his record, okay? I feel like Antonio Trocoli can take him down and sub him, because Bruno Silva was able to take him down and kind of stifle Shara Magomedov's offense. And Antonio Trocoli, pardon me, at the very least, based on his record, is a much more credentialed grappler than Bruno Silva and is also a lot bigger, okay? And is going to be able to, if he can utilize it, stay safe or at safer ranges than Bruno Silva was able to because of his size and his reach and things like that. And again, dude, Shara Magomedov at minus 675 to me is insane, especially after the way he looked against Bruno Silva. It was not impressive to me for the most part. And again, he fought pretty much like nobody's throughout his entire career. That's where his entire highlight reel comes from. So, you know, ain't no way I'm picking him at this number, especially after that Bruno Silva fight. It is what it is, dude. If he wins, fine. But Antonio Trocoli at plus whatever they've got him at, dude, plus 490. He'll probably be even bigger underdog come fight day. I think it's worth it. All right, moving up the card to Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. Now, I'm picking Daniel Rodriguez, okay, because fuck Kelvin Gastelum. Dude was like at media day smiling and smirking about coming in a whole weight class overweight. Yeah, well, you know, we got to talk to the managers and see what we can do. Why the fuck would you not tell Daniel Rodriguez about this like 2 weeks ago? Hey, bro, I'm morbidly obese this fight camp. I'm not going to make 170. You should stop cutting weight or whatever. Like, dick move, pulling a Paulo Costa. Only the difference is that Kelvin Gastelum has like zero personality compared to Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa can kind of get away with some of that shit, although he did get raked over the fucking coals for that, okay? Kelvin Gastelum, I haven't heard much criticism of. You missed weight by a huge amount. You still have to cut weight to get to the weight class above you, which is 15 pounds. Do you know what I mean? That's insane, bro. Kelvin Gastelum, dude, he had potential, but you can see there's maybe disciplinary issues, or I don't know what it is, but Jesus, man. To me, this is, I don't like this at all. It bugs me, and I don't think he's getting enough criticism for it. Daniel Rodriguez, credit to him for saying fuck it. Probably needs the money, so he's like, I'll just fight him at 185, fine. But bro couldn't even make listen, dude, I'm picking Daniel Rodriguez. I don't know how he gets it done. Kelvin Gastelum has not looked all that good lately. He's not looked like the power puncher that he once was. He's not looked as fast as he once was. His wrestling doesn't look as good as it once did. And, whatever, dude. I picked Daniel Rodriguez. I don't know how, but if Kelvin Gastelum wins, fuck him even more. Then I'm already saying fuck him. All right, moving up the card. 2, Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. We are at the co-main event. Now, I went back and forth with myself on this fight for a pretty long time. I'm going to go Pavlovich, but I'll say this. I could see a world where Volkov picks him apart on the feet, if I'm being honest. Okay, Volkov has a much wider arsenal on the feet, a little cleaner with the fundamentals, very good long-range attacks, whereas Pavlovich likes to get in close with the hands. Now, he doesn't need to get that close because he's got an 84-inch reach at 6'3". That is the biggest positive ape index, I think, in UFC history, right? John Jones has an 84.5 or whatever it is, but he's also 6'4", a little bit taller than Pavlovich. Pavlovich has, what, a 9-inch plus 9-inch ape index. That's insane. That's unheard of. The dude is a literal fucking fridge. Okay. Anyways, as I said, very good long range attacks and stuff like that. I could see him kind of keeping the body, staying at range, staying, you know, at a safe distance from Sergey Pavlovich. But I do think that Pavlovich is going to kind of just bully through that and eventually hurt him. Kind of the way we saw Derek Lewis do it. Just took Derek Lewis a lot longer, but I trust Sergey Pavlovich to do something like that way more than I trust Derek Lewis to do it, okay? Because Pavlovich is much cleaner with his hands than Derek Lewis has ever been. Now, I think that if Volkov had a little bit more pop on his shots, I'd probably be a bit more inclined to pick him. Like, if he had something that immediately could kind of get respect from Sergey Pavlovich and get him to back off so that he could continue to work at range with the teeps, leg kicks, and things like this, then I would probably pick him. But I don't know that that's going to be the case. Also, we've seen Volkov get kind of bullied and bragdolled by bigger dudes before Curtis Blades, obviously, whereas Pavlovich made Curtis Blades look like a fucking pussy, basically, okay? And obviously Derek Lewis in the final 10 seconds of that fight, KOing Volkov and whatever, right? So I'm going with Sergey Pavlovich, but I'm not overly confident. I could see a world where Volkov gets a decision or something along those lines. Either way, dude, moving up the card, 2, Robert Whittaker versus Ikran Aliskerov. We are at the main event. I'm going to be going with Robert Whittaker. Man, I've gone back and forth with this one on myself as well, honestly. Ikran Aliskerov, I feel like, is very good. And I think that people immediately dislike him because of where he comes from or whatever, and that's fine. But he has a much more exciting fight style. I think that a lot of those guys, it's not as grappling heavy. He will utilize it if he needs it. But we've seen him come in and knock 2 dudes out. Do you know what I mean? But Robert Whittaker is not Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes has a chin in which I would trust like a featherweight to put out. Do you know what I mean? The guy gets flicked and he goes to sleep. Warley Alves is a very small middleweight and long in the tooth, taking a ton of damage throughout his career. And I understand that there's a lot of recency bias when it comes to Robert Whittaker because we've got the Dricus du Plessis performance and whatever. But despite all that, he does have very good takedown defense, historically speaking. Okay, he's very good at keeping a safe distance. He's very good at coming in and out of range and tagging you before you even have a chance to process that he's entered inside and you need to hit him back or counter or whatever, right? Also, what I'm hoping we see from Robert Whittaker is the Robert Whittaker that we saw against like a Marvin Vettori, Jared Cannonier, guys like this, Kelvin Gastelum, where we saw a very feint heavy Robert Whittaker, so he was actually setting up his combinations, whereas with Dricus du Plessis, it was almost reminiscent of the first Israel Adesanya fight, where he went in there, probably thought he was just going to demolish him, and didn't, obviously, but wasn't really setting things up. He was kind of just throwing the combos that we know he throws. The problem with that is, dude, is that Robert Whittaker has a limited set. He doesn't have a limited arsenal in terms of his striking, but the combinations that he throws are very predictable. We know which combinations you're going to throw. We know. We've seen it 100 times. 1-2 head kick. We get it, dude. So what's very important to do is set that up with feints. You got to get them moving their head. You got to get them tweaking out, which is something he did very well against Marvin Vettori, something he did very well against Kelvin Gastelum and Jared Cannonier, and guys before the championship level, obviously. But I think he can do that to Ikram. Ikram, while is exciting to watch, while has decent striking, is a little bit sloppy. Obviously, that flying knee was beautiful, and I think it was a right hand that he caught Phil Hawes with was also very nice and clean. There are openings, though, defensively speaking, and I think that by the time he realizes he wants to grapple, it'll be too late. Robert Whittaker, as I said, historically speaking, very good takedown defense, stuffed a ton of Yoel Romero's takedowns, stuffed Brunson's takedown, stuffed Dricus du Plessis. I can't even remember another guy that took Whittaker down aside from that, unless I'm just blanking completely and totally. No, he took Darren Till down. He took Adesanya down and took his back. I can't think of it. And Dricus du Plessis kind of just chatted his way through that. That was like a pure strength takedown, a head and arm throw, which we usually only see work in women's MMA. But it was also because Robert Whittaker engaged in the clinch. Robert Whittaker was the one that was kind of trying to grapple because Dricus du Plessis was staying very responsible with his defense, very high, tight guard, wasn't biting on feints and things like that. So Whittaker was, trying to mix things up, it seemed. I don't think that he's going to do that here. I think he's going to be fully aware of the grappling threat that stands in front of him. I think that he's been training takedown defense and get-ups and everything like that for the last however long. Khamzat Chimaev obviously pulled out with food poisoning, okay? Kind of ridiculous, but either way. So he's prepared for that style. Now all he has to do and go in is do what he usually does against dudes. Do you know what I mean? So that's why. If Ikran Aliskerov had had a couple more fights and I'd seen him beat higher level competition, which I do think he can do, I would probably actually pick him because I do think he's very good. I don't think that he gets enough credit. And I think that if you look at him versus Khamzat Chimaev, I think that Ikran Aliskerov has actually improved more than Khamzat Chimaev has since the last time they fought. I thought that would be a very interesting matchup one day, but who knows if we even see Khamzat Chimaev fight again, okay? So either way, dude, Robert Whittaker, probably a decision, probably just kind of pieces Ikran Aliskerov up at range. If he does get a finish, it'll be later on in the fight, but I doubt it because Robert Whittaker doesn't usually get finishes. Either way, dude, that's it. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.